Hi, my name's Sam and welcome back to West Coast Minis. Good news, we're going back to Orks. In the last video I took 3 40k monopose boys and converted them into the old world using some simple techniques. There's a link to the video on screen now, so go over to there if you haven't already. Now I'm going to take that concept and I'm going to scale it, so we're going to have a full unit of Orc shield boys by the end of this video. Now looking at your box, you've got a variety of different models in there. We've checked off 3 of those. We're now going to do the other 6. We're not going to do the Mega Knob. Mega Knob? Big Knob. What? Because he's going to be a war boss in a later video. So make sure to subscribe for that. Going straight into the musician. This is a shooter boy, so I've had to really pack the model and then sculpt it round to the shape of the body. I've used a horn from a really retro metal Orc command kit. However, you could also just use the drums from the more up-to-date kit. Now in doing this sculpting, I've left a gap that I need to fulfill with a belt. I'll be covering this with green stuff. Green stuff's really easy. Mix the blue and yellow together, make sure it's free of any impurities, roll it nice and flat, and then create a belt by cutting it out with your knife. Then I'm going to apply this belt to the model. I've used my fingers, you can use better tools if you want. Make sure that you use a bit of water just to keep it from sticking to everything and being a bit more malleable. And once it's attached where you need it to be, just use your knife to cut it clean. So following that, I've got quite a bit of spare green stuff. I'm going to use it to tidy up one of the belt areas to start with, very similar as the job on the musician. Moving round from there, we're also going to work on the boots. Same trick as before, so a really rough, simple going over with the hobby knife to do the majority of your boots. And then we can also do the same trick from the last time, working on wild fur. Place this sporadically across your models, looks really good crossed over the shoulders like this. Building it up from the furthest edge out to in. I also really like the skull motif, so I've tried replicating that on a couple of shields. Just used a hobby knife to create that. And then finally chainmail is something else, so you just used a toothpick to hammer in loads of little dots. There are better methods you can use for this, but once I had that, I then cut out a triangle of chainmail and attached it to the model, as you can see here. It's just one of the things that wouldn't be present in the 41st millennium but makes sense in the old world. So as you can see here, this is what the model should look like when properly built. And our conversions that you can see here, we've really brought them all into the old world. Variety of shields from old world kits, swords from all over the place, remove grenades, standard stuff, add a load of fur. They look great. Now I've got a couple of fantasy orc boys that I'm bringing along for the ride using the same techniques, as well as a head swap from Avatars of War and the 40k monopose orc boys. I see this as really important because the reality is I'm not going to create a full army out of 40k models. No doubt in the second and third ranks of most of my units there will be old boys. So combining these in and using the same techniques is really important. For the boss, I'm paying homage to Karl Kopinski's box art from 6th edition. This is over 20 years old, so if you feel old right now, you're welcome. With the knob out the question, the next largest boy is the gunner, and he's well orientated, so let's make this conversion happen. Now on the art, our boss has got 2 pauldrons, so first thing is to put that on. This is an easy attachment just with plastic glue. Next I'm going to fit the head, which I'm going to trial it with blue tack first of all. On the trial with blue tack I found out that I need to file it down a little bit to make it fit and angle correctly. Just using an emery file for this, but you can use anything really. This gave us a couple more millimeters in angle, However, it opened up the neck for viewing, so we needed to fill that space with green stuff, just sculpting it in line with the neck. From here we can attach the head on just with a bit of pressure, or super glue if needed. Much like we've done before, I filled out the holes in the body with green stuff. This then allowed us to attach the arms on. From here I was able to hide the lightning bolt motif with some skulls from the Citadel Skulls set, and also from the Flagellant set for this one. In terms of the necklace, I was able to pull that straight from the 40k Boyz, and then the shoulder armour is plasticard rectangles that I was able to chop out and then attach onto the arm with minimum issues. Added a horn to the shield and plenty of fur all over the place, and that's our lad done. Speed painting orcs in the slap chop method, really easy, let's get going. So spray paint, black, and then cover with a white. I'm using Citadel's Corax white, but you can use any, and we're just highlighting all of the raised areas so that will show off the contrast paint. Once done, it should look like this. From here, moving on to our contrast paint, you can use any contrast green. However, I'm using Militarum Green, again by Citadel. Liberally cover all of the flesh with this. Once done, it looks as so. Next colour, we're going to go for Satchel Brown, covering any of the bits of dark leather, but also any of the metals. I'm also going to cover the base at this stage as well. From here, adding in whatever your colour of choice is. So for me, it's Slaughter Red. Things like the shields, and at least one part of every model gets a hit with this. Next, I'm going to mix up some bony matter and some pallid bone, and I'm going to hit all the bone areas, all the fur, but also some of the shirts. Now we're going to mix all of these earthy colours in different ways to produce a variety of leather effects. We're also going to use this same style on the banner as well. From here, there shouldn't be any white showing anymore, so what we're now going to do is we're going to dab everywhere that we want to look metal with a sponge. I'm using lead belcher for this, but the main thing is that you just be a bit rough with it and let some of the brown show through. This will give you a finish currently of something like this. We are going to make the metals darker in a minute. However, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to cover the base, so using 2 greys to go over all of the stonework that we have a brown base of. From there, I'm just going to show off 2 things. So the first is instant filler, which should be white instant filler, and the next is just some really rough cack paint from Abstract. So dry brush those stones as kind of you've seen in the previous video. From here we're just going to use this brown paint in any areas of earth. Layer it on quite thick to create a little bit of texture. You can also add some sand into this as well if you want to increase the texture further. Now in my previous video I used Citadel's Valhalla Blizzard to create a snow effect. This can be achieved with a little bit of water and some instant filler. It needs to be white clearly. Mix those 2 together and then you can spread it onto your base using a modelling tool like I am. You could use a brush as well, but you would need to clean that brush immediately after. Add any extras on, so I'm adding on a tuft of grass. Now let's compare it to the Valhalla Blizzard. It's the same. In order to develop the depth of the metals, I'm going to use Nuln Oil over all of the metalled areas. Once this is done, I'll use Plate Mail Metal by Army Painter sparingly on some of the edges and in darting lines to create battle damage effect. Once you're done with this effect, I think we're in a really good position to be able to show off what we've done so far. So there we have it. A unit of 10 really dynamic looking, modern Orc Boys ready to take on anyone in the old world. I'm really happy with how these have turned out. They look really dynamic and aggressive. I think that the command is the best bit for me. The champion is a fair representation of Kapinski's art. The issues with these is that they are harder to rank up, the time it takes to convert them, and they're a little bit more expensive than Old World Boys because of the extra kit. I still think it's worth it, especially for something like Mordheim as well. There's so much more character in these. What are you working on? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a like and subscribe for future content. As mentioned, we've got a war boss on the way, but there's plenty more incoming before that. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.